Hello, everyone. This is Sharlene Shaw from True Self Leadership, and I'm here with my colleague Jeff Bell-Devaney, who's a mindfulness expert. And I wanted to ask him a really something that I've been exploring deeply around emotional intelligence. And Jeff, I would love to know your thoughts on how does deepening one's emotional intelligence support one as a leader in the world today?
Yeah, that's a great question, Charlene. I think that for many of us, we didn't grow up within a framework, either in our families or societally, where we were really taught to embrace all of our emotions. And inherently, as humans, we want to feel good. We don't want to feel bad. We don't want to feel a lot of those negative emotions, but it really behooves us to start to do so, because not only does it help us become a much more well-rounded person in terms of someone who's able to acknowledge all of their emotions, but particularly from a business leader standpoint, it can help us have a much greater sense of solidity, a much greater sense of resiliency, and a much greater sense of clarity in terms of not only dealing with situations that might be going awry. There may be economic situations, there may be staffing situations, there may be situations, whatever they may be within the organization, that are not how we want them to be. And the more able we are to accept whatever emotions that might stir up within us, the resistance, the fear, the anger, the confusion, the more familiar we are with those, the better positioned we are to stay in the moment, to stay in the moment effectively, and to truly lead from a place of being much more grounded. Because when we're not in touch with our emotions and we're not wanting to acknowledge some of them, when they do arise, it can kind of leave us buffeted, and we're not as effective. We're not as present with ourselves and with those within our organization.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so it's like something's occurred. We read an email and there's really bad news, and we are feeling there's a lot of stuff going on within me. Let's say I'm the leader, but I'm not wanting to acknowledge them. I just stifle them, right? As opposed to being able to be present with, oh, I feel fear. Oh, I feel that in my chest. Um, I feel anger or I feel sadness, and just taking a moment to acknowledge those. The other choice is to just sort of repress them and move on to get the job done.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is when I take a moment to acknowledge them and I know how to work with what's happening inside of me, I can be, it's like I have more space that then I become more capable to deal with the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting story that's coming to me in the moment here. Is I think of athletes who train under game-like conditions where there's I think of Tiger Woods learning to putt, and his father would be trying to simulate the pressures of being in a real game, a real match, where his father would be making comments to try to throw Tiger off his game. And to me, that's similar in many ways to dealing with these emotions that might arise during situations where we really want to be present and effective. And the more like Tiger Woods, the more that he was familiar and comfortable with those external distractions, the more focused he could be as a player. And we can see the results of that in all of the success that he's had. And to me, those external distractions, um, for him, it's really important to come to peace with that, to sort of let that noise be there, if you will. And for me, as if someone was in a leadership role and they're experiencing a lot of adversity that's creating a lot of inner noise, the more that we can sit with that and accept all of those inner experiences, then we're not going to be as distracted by them. So just like Tiger Woods over time became less distracted by the external noise, the more that we sit with our inner world and all of these uncomfortable emotions that we experience, then when we're experiencing them, they don't distract us as much from staying in the moment and being an effective and engaged leader who has foresight and clarity of how to, even though there's a lot of stress happening that's creating those emotions within the leader, they're able to acknowledge them, just like Tiger Woods. Okay, there's the noise, but I can stay focused on my game. Similarly, when we're experiencing a lot of internal emotions, okay, there's that inner noise. I get it. I'm comfortable with it. Now I can just keep moving forward. It's like multitasking, holding all of those inner emotions with whatever has to be done. And the more that we're comfortable with that, the more effective we're going to be in life and in business, dealing with stressful, challenging situations from a much more grounded, centered place. Whereas if we're not willing to acknowledge that inner noise and we keep pushing it at bay, it's still going to arise within us and create distraction that ultimately is going to impede us on our journey as a human and as a leader.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious as to what does it look like when someone is not paying attention to that inner noise, like something happens, right? And they're not really, they're moving forward, making decisions and so on and so forth, but they're not really paying attention to the inner noise. They're just moving forward with the task ahead. But there's
Yeah.
still something that has occurred that would cause a lot of inner noise. They're just not paying attention. What does that look like in that
Yeah.
person?
Yeah, that's a really good question. To me, we can see it in our interactions with others. You can tell when people are distracted. You can tell, and the more that we do this inner work, the more mindful we are with our own emotions, we can notice how they want to leave us distracted and not present and not engaged. It's almost like we're trying to keep them at bay and focus on what we have to do. Yet the more we're able to mindfully allow all of those emotions to sit with him, to embrace the humanity of our experience, then the less distracted we're going to be. We're going to be able to stay engaged with those emotions and move forward in that way that I mentioned, almost multitasking. It's okay, I've got this inner emotional reality that's going on, and I have this external reality that I have to do. Just like Tiger Woods, there's the noise, and then there's the focus required to putt with with without being distracted by it. So it's, to me, really, it's pretty clear in myself, if I'm not really acknowledging what's going on within me, it's going to leave me distracted and much less effective as not only a leader in an organization, for example, and I have in several businesses that I've owned, I've experienced this, the pressures that arise from business. This is a beautiful way of being able to deal with it. And if we're not able to deal with it in these ways, then we're not going to be as effective and more distracted in general, not as focused. And people are going to be able to pick up on that, definitely. And as a leader, you want to be as grounded and present and effective and acknowledging reality, whether it's the internal realities within us or our employees, or the external demands, the realities of whatever might be arising within our business environment.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, and I think this whole idea of being grounded and present as a leader comes as a result of one being able to know what's going on, acknowledge what's going on inside. Because
Yeah,
otherwise, it's a distracted, it's a non-grounded
yeah,
presence, right?
yeah,
So this is
exactly.
huge, actually, in the way the leader shows up in the world, in
Yeah,
how people are able to sense that leader as someone they can trust, someone that's grounded. And it's as simple as that leader behind the scenes without anyone knowing they are in relationship to what's going on inside of them.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, Jeff, for your wisdom on this topic. I really appreciate it, and we look forward to more conversations around emotional intelligence and how it supports how it deepening it supports our leadership.
My pleasure, Charlene. Thank you.
Thank you.